Part 2. Directions. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer you have chosen. Questions 9 to 12.
Listen to part of a conversation on campus between 2 students.
First, you have some time to look at questions 9 to 12.
This is an interesting assignment.
It is. I'm just having a problem figuring out how to write up the report.
Oh? How much have you done?
Well, the introduction was easy. I just expanded on the information that the lab assistant provided, about the effects of alcohol on reflexes, and I used the same references that he cited.
Me too.
Then I described the experiment in the second part, the methods and materials section.
What did you include there? The lab assistant said that it was important to be specific when we did this part.
Yeah, he did. So I mentioned that there were 10 subjects, and 5 were drinking gin and tonic, but the other 5, that's the control group, they were drinking tonic only, and no one knew which group was which. Then they each had to drive in a computerized, what was it called? A simulator. A simulator of a car that was supposed to be moving at 35 miles an hour. And when they saw a bicycle, they were supposed to hit the brakes.
So far, so good. The only thing I can think of that you might want to add is maybe a little more about the subjects. I think they were college students, and they were selected at random to be in the experimental or control group.
Good idea, especially the part about the random selection. That would be important information if someone wanted to duplicate the experiment. And didn't he say that this section had to be specific enough for another researcher to be able to
Replicate?
Yeah, replicate the study?
Okay. So what did you do with the results section?
That's the problem. I can't seem to figure out what to put in the results section and what to use for the discussion section. If I put the chart with the reaction times in the results, should I explain the chart in the discussion or what?
Oh, now I see the problem. The chart's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it? I mean, it's really a simple chart to read.
That's what I thought.
But you still have to explain the chart in the results section.
You do?
Yeah. Look, here's what I'd do. I'd look at the chart and try to come up with a few general statements. For example, all of the subjects who were drinking alcohol had longer reaction times. Then you can look at the range, 1 second to 4 seconds for the subjects who are drinking only tonic, and that's compared with 3 seconds to 20 seconds for the subjects who are drinking gin with the tonic.
So I'm really just repeating what's on the chart, but I'm explaining it in words.
Right. But here's the thing. You shouldn't draw any conclusions in the results section, just the facts.
You mean just what happened in the experiment?
Right. You have to save the conclusions for the discussion section.
Okay, so in the conclusions, I might say that driving after having 4 drinks, if you have 4 drinks, you probably won't be in a position to avoid an accident.
That's good. And you could also point out problems in the research, if there are any, or suggestions for future research.
Like doing the experiment with beer instead of hard liquor, or repeating the same experiment with 3 drinks instead of 4.
Sure, that's the idea.
What is the purpose of this conversation? What is the study about? Listen again to part of the conversation, and then answer the following question.
Oh, now I see the problem. The chart's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it? I mean, it's really a simple chart to read.
That's what I thought.
Why does the woman say this?
The chart's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it?
Which section includes the conclusions?
Questions 13 to 16.
Listen to part of a conversation between a student and a professor.
First, you have some time to look at questions 13 to 16.
Professor Collins, I'm really sorry. I mean, these are my daughters. They're twins. I wouldn't ordinarily bring them to an appointment, but the babysitter didn't show up, and I couldn't leave them. I didn't want to cancel. I hope it's okay.
It's okay. I have 3 kids of my own, and I've been in the same situation.
Thanks. Well, this shouldn't take much of your time. I really just have one question.
All right.
I'm having a problem understanding the difference between declarative memory and procedural memory. I think from my notes that they're both examples of, let me see. I have it down here. Declarative and procedural memory are 2 broad types of memory circuits in long-term memory.
That's right, but you need to distinguish between them.
Exactly.
Okay, well, declarative memory is a memory that links us to a fact, like a name or a date or even an experience.
So when I remember a professor's name when I see him, that's declarative memory?
Yes, at its most basic level it is. But declarative memory also includes problem solving. Like today, when you decided to bring your daughters to my office, you were using declarative memory to access previous experiences and facts that would allow you to make a decision.
Oh, right. I remember your example in class. That makes sense now. You were talking about problem solving by recalling experiences. But wasn't that episodic memory?
Very good. Yes, it's called episodic memory. But declarative memory includes episodic memory, which is the ability to access prior experiences or personal episodes in our life, usually for the purpose of making a decision or solving a problem. So episodic memory is a subcategory of declarative memory, so to speak. And semantic memory is just the storehouse of facts that we have in our memory circuits.
Which is also a subcategory of declarative memory?
Precisely.
Okay, then procedural memory doesn't include facts or experiences.
Not directly, no. Procedural memory refers to skills that we've learned and are now remembering in order to perform the skill without really thinking much about it. Like, for example, riding a bike, or do you play a musical instrument?
Piano, sort of. Not really.
Okay. Well, when you ride a bike then, you aren't thinking about the name of every part of the bike and how to use the handlebars or the pedals, or at least not consciously.
No.
But at some level, you are remembering how to do these things, so you're using your memory.
And that'd be procedural memory.
Yes, it would.
Okay, then. That's why you said that declarative memory can be more rapidly learned, but it can also be more rapidly forgotten. Because a fact can come and go in the memory. But procedural memory takes repetition and practice, so it's harder to unlearn. I'm not saying that very well.
But you have the idea. Often with declarative memory, you're consciously trying to remember. But with procedural memory, you're performing a skill without consciously trying to recall how, without each step in the process.
That's what I mean, but...
Yes?
Well, I was thinking about language when my girls were learning to talk.
Oh, I see where you're going. You want to know whether language learning is declarative or procedural.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was thinking that maybe it's both. Because you have to memorize vocabulary, but eventually it's more like a skill, like riding a bike. because you don't think about each individual word. It's more automatic. Do you see what I mean?
A very good analysis. I think you've got this.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
And if you ever need to ask me a question and it's hard to get in to see me, just drop me an email.
I thought about that, but...
Look, I'm always glad to see you, but I answer a lot of questions like this by email every day. And if it's easier for you, that's fine with me.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Why does the woman go to see her professor? What do semantic memory and episodic memory have in common? When the professor gives the example of riding a bicycle, what kind of memory is he referring to? What does the professor suggest?
Questions 17 to 20.
Listen to part of a conversation on campus between a student and a professor.
First, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20.
Hi, I'm Ron Watson. I'm here to apply for the work-study job.
Oh, good. Have you ever had a work-study position?
Not really. To tell the truth, I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Well, it's like this. On work-study, you have regular hours and assigned responsibilities. But if you get everything done, you can study. You can't leave because there may be something else to do later during your hours. But you should always bring your books and, I guess that probably about 25% of the time you should be able to study.
This is even better than I thought. What kind of assignments would I have? I mean, if I get this opportunity.
Clerical mostly, I'm afraid. Nothing too demanding, but it isn't the most interesting work either. Filing, copying, delivering mail, some grading, but only multiple choice tests, and we use a grading machine for that.
Would someone show me how to operate the grading machine? I'm sure I could do it if someone showed me once or twice.
No problem. We have a secretary here in the department, and she'll be the main person you report to. She'd show you how to do everything.
Okay, great.
Now, let's see whether your hours will fit in with the hours we need. Could you work Monday through Thursday from 10 to 2?
That's 16 hours a week?
To start, we may actually want to extend that to Fridays, so if that happens, it'd be 20 hours. You'll notice that the hours include the usual lunch break. That'd let Nancy, she's the secretary, so she could get you started on the work, and then take her lunch from noon to 1 and be back for the last hour of your day, in case you had any questions.
Okay.
Oh, and I should tell you about the phone. While Nancy's gone for lunch, we'll want you to answer the phone.
Sure, I can do that. Will there be any work on the computer? I'm familiar with most of the basic office programs. I used to help my dad in his office when I was in high school. He's a lawyer.
Oh, well, we hadn't planned to include anything like that in the job, but it's a plus.
Sorry to ask, but how does the pay work? Do I get paid for the time I work minus the study time, or...
Oh, no. You get paid for 16 hours a week whether you're working or studying. This is a special program for students.
It seems too good to be true.
Well, you need to have an interview with Nancy. Since you'll be working closely with her, she'll make the final decision.
Okay. Should I make an appointment, or...
No, just go over to her desk and tell her who you are. She's expecting you. We want to get the position filled as soon as possible.
Well, thank you for seeing me. I hope I'll be working here.
Good luck. Oh, yes. Be sure to tell Nancy about the computer experience.
I will.
And let her know I've already interviewed you and I referred you to her.
Thanks again. I really appreciate your taking the time to explain everything to me.
You're welcome.
Why does the student go to the professor's office? What experience does the man have that may be helpful? What is the pay for the work-study position? What can we assume about the meeting?
That is the end of Part 2.